Totally agree with it. I think just if we can get maybe one in before December and then a big fight in December.
Joseph Parker, Ajit Caballero, who would you think?
They're not going to chuck names around. I don't think we need to. We're in a great position ranking-wise, but I think he's ready for the big guys now.
Oleksandr Usyk included in that list?
Absolutely.
Why would Usyk take that fight? That's obviously my first thought. But, I mean, if the fight was to present itself and that was like, right, you're fighting Usyk in May, I'm like, yeah, I'm taking it 100%. There's no loss in that. Do you get what I mean? I would take that fight 100%. But I just think, like, why would Usyk do that? Why would he? I mean, the money, he's made plenty of money.
What happens if you and Oleksandr Usyk sharing in December, let's say?
What do you think?
I'm asking you.
No. I know my answer, but what do you think?
I think it's a hell of a fight.
You gone commercial, you gone generic.
20-year-old Moses Itauma has just delivered the most emphatic statement of his young career, and he's sending a crystal-clear warning message straight to undisputed heavyweight champion Oleksandr Usyk after his absolutely devastating first-round knockout of Dillian Whyte in Riyadh. Itauma was asked point-blank, would he fight Usyk next if the terms were right? His response? Of course, belt to ass, baby.
Case you would just fight Oleksandr Usyk next?
Of course, belt to ass, baby.
This is the story of how a 20-year-old British sensation just announced himself as the future of heavyweight boxing, and why the entire division should be on notice. Let's break down what happened in Saudi Arabia, because this wasn't just a win. This was a statement of intent that echoed around the boxing world.
Everything about it, the little dip of the knees, the intelligence, that little right hook there is an absolute stunning.
Moses Itauma entered that ring as a 12-0 prospect, facing his biggest test yet. Dillian Whyte, the 37-year-old veteran who had shared the ring with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, was supposed to be the measuring stick, the man who would tell us if Itauma was ready for the big leagues. Instead, Whyte became the latest victim of Itauma's devastating power. The fight lasted just 1 minute and 59 seconds. Whyte tried the old-school psychological warfare, making Itauma wait nearly 5 minutes before leaving his locker room. But if he thought that would rattle the young lion, he was dead wrong.
Big punches, raining in, gone. He's all over the place. Referee having a close look.
Whyte tried to protest the stoppage, but the referee made the right call. This young man had just announced himself on the world stage in the most emphatic way possible. But here's where the story gets really interesting, folks. Because immediately after the fight, before the adrenaline had even worn off, Moses Itauma was asked about his next opponent. The DAZN presenter mentioned that Turki Al-Sheikh, Saudi Arabia's boxing power broker, had specifically mentioned wanting to see Itauma face Oleksandr Usyk next. The question was direct. If everything was agreed financially, would you take that fight? Itauma's response was immediate, confident, and sent a chill down the spine of every heavyweight in the division. Of course. Belt to ass, baby.
That's one from me, Moses. You mentioned Usyk's name. Obviously, Turkey's mentioned that fight that he'd like to see you face him next. You seem like, and your team have said that if it was presented, say if everything was agreed with financially, you would take it. Is that the case? You would just fight Oleksandr Usyk next?
Of course, belt to ass, baby.
This isn't just bravado from a young fighter caught up in the moment. This is a calculated declaration of war from someone who genuinely believes he's ready for the undisputed champion. And you know what? After what we witnessed in Riyadh, it's getting harder to argue against him. The crowd was shouting Usyk's name, and Itauma embraced it. He told them straight up, I'm ranked #1 with the WBO. I'm the interim champion now. All these fights can happen. I'm only 20 years old. I've got 10 or 15 years left in my career. There's going to be a lot of this face around.
You must have a view of what level you're at now.
If you want my honest opinion, I
do.
think if my skill set, if you're talking about my ring IQ and what I display in the ring, I feel like I am the best in the world, but I haven't displayed the later rounds. That's all what I kind of want to get ticked off. So my next opponent or opponents this year, we're just looking at fights to kind of get me into that later round, because I feel like with Usyk, I feel like I've got a better skill set than him, but I feel like towards the later rounds, he'll just outdo me, because I've never been in that sort of fight.
Now, some of you might be thinking, isn't this too much, too soon? A 20-year-old with just 13 professional fights challenging the man who's cleaned out the heavyweight division? But let's look at the facts. Moses Itauma has 11 knockouts in 13 fights. He's the WBO #1 contender. And most importantly, he's shown something that separates great fighters from good ones. That ice-cold composure under pressure. Frank Warren, his promoter, said it best. He's the most unbelievable finisher. He catches you, and you're in trouble. Every shot he throws is a hurtful, well-measured punch. He's an unbelievable boxing talent.
No heavyweight that would have boxed Dillian Whyte would have said that I was able to knock him out in the first round. There's you put Dillian Whyte with any other heavyweight, they wouldn't have said that. So it's funny that they make an exemption for me, but then say I'm not ready for the other guys, which makes it seem a bit confusing to me. About me becoming an overnight success, and I've been boxing since I was 9 years old. I've been boxing more than half my life, so yeah, it might seem like it's been an overnight success, but this has been 11 years in the making. And this is still the beginning.
The heavyweight division has been dominated by the same faces for years. Usyk has beaten everyone. Daniel Dubois, Tyson Fury twice, Anthony Joshua twice. He needs a new challenge, and maybe that challenge is standing right in front of him. Turki Al-Sheikh, the man who makes the biggest fights in boxing happen, has reportedly made it clear. His preference is to see Moses Itauma challenge Usyk next. When the Saudi power broker wants something in boxing, it usually happens.
My name is Itauma. Moses Itauma. I think he's a great fighter. The young, 20 years, yeah?
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, 20 years. I think Itauma have big future.
What makes this even more compelling is Itauma's mindset. This isn't a fighter who's going to wait for his turn or take the safe fights to build his resume. When asked about becoming champion, he said, "If I get the opportunity, I will be 100% a champion in 2026. That's not hope. That's prophecy." The combination of speed, power, and composure that we witnessed is rare at any age. But at 20 years old, it's almost unprecedented in the heavyweight division. After that devastating first-round destruction of Dillian Whyte, the 20-year-old British sensation isn't just knocking on the door of greatness, he's kicking it down. Will we see Usyk versus Itauma in 2025? With Turki Al-Sheikh reportedly pushing for the fight and Itauma ready to answer the call, this could be the passing of the torch moment that defines a generation. The future of heavyweight boxing has a name, and it's Moses Itauma. The only question now is Oleksandr Usyk ready for what's coming? Keep it locked to our channel for all the latest boxing news and analysis. Until next time, this has been your heavyweight update. The young king is coming, and boxing will never be the same.